Ginsberg, and I am the CEO of OLAM based in Jerusalem. OLAM is a network of over 50 Jewish and Israeli organizations working in the fields of global service, international development, and humanitarian aid. It's my pleasure to welcome you today. We ask that you stay on mute for the duration of the call unless you are speaking. Today's call is focused on the dire humanitarian situation that's currently taking place in Ethiopia and the response of a coalition of Israeli organizations and leaders in the Ethiopian Jewish community. This is a story that resonates deeply with me on a personal level, as I have visited Ethiopia several times, and the story of collaboration is deeply inspiring. I want to ask you to consider showing your support for this work over several times over the course of the call. We'll give the link for how you can donate and be involved. And we're honored to have representatives of the various coalition partners on this call from the Beta Israel community, CultivAid, JDC, IsraAID, and NALA. I ask them to please put their links to their websites in the chat at this time. And if you are a representative of one of those organizations, feel free to wave as well. And if you're viewing this in gallery view, you can see who those individuals are. We are going to have the chance to hear from several people today. We will first start off with Shmuel Yilma, who is the founder and chairman of the coalition, who will give a brief overview of the current crisis and the work of the coalition. Immediately thereafter, we will hear from Rabbi Dr. Sharon Zoda Shalom, who is the head of the International Center for the Study of Ethiopian Jewry at Ono Academic College, and he will share a little bit about why he was personally moved to action. And then finally, we will hear from Liat Renner, the humanitarian project manager at NALA, who will give a perspective from being on the ground. She is currently located in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Then we will have the chance to have some Q&A facilitated by Ariel Delumi, the chairperson of CID Israel, who is co-convening this webinar today. As you are listening, I encourage you to please already write your questions in the chat box. And then once again, when we open it up for Q&A, you can feel free to write additional questions at that time. So with that, it is my honor to turn the floor over to Shmuel Yilma.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being with us today. At this moment, while we are talking, according to the International Red Cross, more than 4.5 million people are in high risk to starvation. And among them, about 6,000 Jewish from the remain of the Tigray community. I hope that through this meeting, we all together can give a practical meaning to the words "never again" and save lives as much as we can. In just you don't familiar with Ethiopia, let me share with you some background. I would like to share a map. I hope you can see it. Ethiopia is a country with a rich history and plays an important role in the countries of the Horn of Africa. It borders Sudan and South Sudan to the west, Kenya to the south, Somalia to the east, and Eritrea to the north. It is home to over 100 million people and currently divided into 9 autonomous regions and has about 80 languages and dialects. The next one. This is the Tigray region. It is the northern one and is home to about 6 million people. Tigray is the cradle to the civilization of Ethiopia. Tigray is the site of the royal dynasty of Menelik, the son of Queen Sheba and King Solomon. And also, to this day, Tigray is a home for the Jewish Ark of the Covenant. Let me stop it. Now, I want to ask you, and I need your cooperation. For one moment, please, everyone, all of you, I would like to ask you to close your eyes just for a while. And imagine that your life is changed suddenly at once. And imagine that you stay in a big darkness, which meaning you have no internet, no phone, no electricity, no transportation, no banks, no schools, no hospitals, no waters, no food, no security, and more and more. Now, please open your eyes and to try to think, how would you survive? This is not a legend, and this is not a Hollywood movie. Unfortunately and painfully, this is the reality of the lives of about 6 million people in the last 100 days to this moment. It is important for me as the founder of the coalition to emphasize that we have no political agenda. And we are only on the side of the civilian who are suffering from the violent conflict. For this, we need you. Please help us to help them by providing an emergency humanitarian response, as you will learn later from Liad. Thank you very much. And I would like to invite my friend, my dear friend, Dr. Arab Sharon Shalom. Thank you.
Shmuel? Okay, Shmuel, my friend, good friend, you are a hero. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Toda rabah. And thank you, for all of you, which you decided to stop everything and choose to participate with us here with a very, very important moment. So thank you very much. You know, Shmuel and all of you, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Sharon Shalom, Zode Sharon, head of the International Center for the Study of Ethiopian Jewry at Ono Academic College, and Rabbi of Congregation Kodeshei Israel in Israel, which was established by Holocaust survivor. You know, actually, I want to tell you that my grandmother on my father's side, he's Amhara, and my Amhara, and also from Tigray and from Wolkite. So I'm combination. I am Ethiopian citizen and also in Israeli citizen. Anyway, Ethiopia is a country where I was born and where dream as a Jew of going to Jerusalem. I remember the moment which my grandfather, he used to sit with us under a shady tree and he reading from the Orit, is the Bible, Metzhaf Kidus, the holy book, how the prophets promised to us that in one day we will be in Jerusalem. And I remember when I asked my grandpa, I asked him, when will the time be, when the God he going to fulfill his promise by his prophets? And he used to answer to me, my grandmother replied all the times, now, now, now. I realized, when I grow up, I understood that also his grandfather promised to him now. When I grow up more, I understood that each generation promised to the next generation now, during 2,000 years of exile. So I used to say that first of all, don't believe to Ethiopian, because if we tell you now, maybe it's going to take to maybe 2,000. But secondly, please don't believe, I used to say, to philosopher, very famous philosopher, name is Nietzsche. And Nietzsche told us that hope is an illusion. And I tell you now that hope is not an illusion, because after 2,000 years of exile, we finally here in Jerusalem. So it's not, hope is reality, is not an illusion. And now I am proud citizen in Israel, yet still with a strong affinity for Ethiopia through the language, the food, the clothing, and music, and especially to the people. I am deeply pained by the agony of the citizens dislodged from their homes. And I am very sad to see that they lost their hope. They lost their hope, their future, their life. So we are not against the government, as my friend Shmuel mentioned before, without any agenda of political. Because in Amharic language, by the way, political is mean liar. So we are not liar. So just we care about the citizens. By the way, I want to tell you that, I am rabbi at Kiddushei Israel congregation, as I mentioned, established by Holocaust survivor in Kiryat Gat. And I remember after they decided to accept me as their rabbi, a reporter from the well-known newspaper asked the Holocaust survivor, why did you get an Ethiopian rabbi, black, oy vey? And the answer that they did not know Ethiopian, they know Sharon, they told him. And they told him how you can imagine that after that they did to us in the Holocaust as a Jew, we will select a rabbi for the color of his skin. We were looking for the knowledge, not color. And I want to tell you that this is a moment, the situation we see is very difficult. It's very difficult. in Ethiopia today. And we have obligation to support them. We are not against the government. And Baruch Hashem, it's thank God, the government, work and participate to help them now, because they're Ethiopian citizens. So Ethiopia, by the way, I remember one day in New York, someone, he's African American, he asked me, "Oh, you are from Ethiopia?" Yes, of course, I am from Ethiopia. Wow, I'm so excited. You are descendants of kingdom, and I descendants of slave. So you make me to be proud, because you are Black and you are descendants of kingdom in Ethiopia. So I think as Ethiopia, a country, give us a respect and pride, even when we live here in Israel. And it is a time give back to Ethiopia, especially to the citizens who have been displaced from their home and who need our support. We hope to help restore their honor and pride, but more than all, to save life. And we want to give them hope, because it's very, very important. So help us, help to save life. And I call us all to action. And thank you for all what you do. And thank God and thank you very much. So, Litraot from Jerusalem, from Eretz Israel, and thank you. So I give now my permission to Liat. Where are you, Liat? Where are you?
I'm in Addis.
Yeah, you are in Addis. Okay, yes. It's crazy. Okay. You are in Addis and I'm in Israel. Okay, so you take my country. You take my country.
Yes.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So hi, everyone. I am going to give an overview of the activity that has been going on the ground so far by the coalition. Just going to share presentation with you. So yeah, just to recap a few of the things that were said and some new things as well. So this coalition of Israeli NGOs is something that's pretty unique in this type of circumstance and setting. So what we have here are organizations that are all working in the field of either humanitarian aid or development. Some of them have been working in Ethiopia for many years, and some are experts in humanitarian response from other countries. And what we kind of did here is we blended together these organizations while using the strengths and the specializations that each one brings, you know, whether it be deep knowledge of Ethiopia, which JDC, NALA, and CultivAid have, or big expertise in humanitarian response as IsraAID has. And together with the community of Ethiopians in Israel, which is the Beta Israel, we who have been doing the fundraising for everything that I'm going to be showing you that we've done until now, we came together in order to give humanitarian response to this region, which is very much in need. So just to recap a few things, as Shmuel mentioned, there's a very, very severe humanitarian crisis right now in northern Ethiopia. We have over 1 million people that have been displaced, over 4 million people that are currently in urgent need of aid. These numbers keep going up by the day. We also know of massive destruction of basic infrastructure, water, electricity, medical institutions. Almost any type of institution you can imagine is currently either malfunctioning or not functioning at all. As far as the needs on the ground, so they're very great, but the ones that we've identified so far as the main needs are safe drinking water. People are drinking from unsafe sources. This can lead to so many health risks, and we're already seeing some of the ramifications as far as waterborne diseases. a shortage of food. We have communities that really are at the brink of starvation. It's not a mild shortage. This is a serious problem. Basic hygiene equipment. A lot of these people just fled their homes with nothing on them. They don't have any items with them. So we have a lot of shortage on that. Medical supplies for facilities that are also handling much higher load of injuries than they're used to, plus just the shortage and the fact that the region was somewhat cut off has led to a big shortage of supplies for these facilities. And psychosocial support. So a lot of people have experienced very difficult things, and we see a great need in that type of support. And it's worth mentioning that this area was not well off before the conflict started. We already had high malnutrition rates. We already had problems with water. There was a locust invasion a few months ago that really harmed an area which is largely agriculture based. So this area was already not doing that great, and COVID was also fairly high in that region before this started. So you can only imagine how much worse things are now when their starting point was low to begin with. So our response has been ongoing since the end of December. So we're into our second month right now, and kind of split it for explanation between phase 1 and phase 2. So what we've been focusing on for the first 6 weeks was mostly distribution. As I mentioned, there's acute shortage in almost everything. So what we focused on were 3 types of distribution. So the first one was water distribution. What we did was we hired water trucks that you can see here in the photo, and these water trucks circulate in areas that are either very demographically vulnerable or have a very severe shortage of water. So we prioritized, and we've managed to deliver over 1 million liters of water to over 14,000 families just in these first 6 weeks. We're constantly prioritizing where to send the truck. As far as food distribution, so here again, we choose communities to focus on. We can't distribute to everyone. So we've chosen so far to distribute monthly food packages to chronically ill patients and to the elderly. You can see in the photo, these are elderlies receiving their supplies, and we've distributed so far many thousands of pounds of rice, flour, and oil. These are the basics that are easy for us to source locally and useful and versatile for people to use. And we're currently working, a truck is supposed to leave in the coming 2 days with 8 tons of food. And what's really exciting us about this one is that this is an area that has been almost cut off of access so far, and it's just now starting to open. So there are not many NGOs on the ground there, and we're going to be one of the first to be able to reach that area as a coalition and provide them with this very much needed aid. And maybe this is just something that I forgot to mention, but it's a good opportunity to say. We were active on the ground from the very beginning, almost as soon as it was possible, as soon as connection was resumed to the area. And this is because we work routinely in Ethiopia. We have our staff that was based there before the crisis started. So as soon as we could get in touch with them, we were able to very quickly mobilize resources and be on the ground. And we actually saw a situation where a lot of the big NGOs, the big names, were waiting for permission, waiting to get it, to get access. And we were able to really very quickly be on the ground and be providing aid, thanks to this very strong local presence that we have in Ethiopia on a regular basis, and specifically in that region. So the third type of distribution is just personal items. We're very mindful of COVID. If you think of conditions of shelters with people who have been currently internally displaced, it's pretty much the nightmare COVID-wise. It's everything we don't want. It's crowded places, lack of water, lack of hygiene items. So we've been very conscious and very mindful of that. And that's why you can see that we've distributed soaps, hand sanitizers, and masks. We've also purchased a lot of blankets, hundreds of blankets and pillows. We've seen that people have been kind of coming into the capital city, fleeing from different areas, but the city wasn't really set up to accommodate them. So a lot of these very basic items are missing, and we're always continuously evaluating and trying to see what the gaps are and fill these gaps as best we can. We've also purchased some equipment for the shelters, like this water tanker that you can see. Then our water truck would circulate and fill the water tankers. You can have a few hundreds to a few thousand people in each one of these shelters. So the needs are really massive. we never seem to have enough. Like there's always need for more funding. So this is a bit of a look ahead. This actually started this week. Our plans for the coming 3 to 6 months, we plan on being on the ground for a while. This 3 to 6 months is the minimal time that we'll extend our activity from now on. If we see that more is needed and we're capable, we're definitely interested in extending. And again, our organizations have presence in Ethiopia regularly, so that would be very feasible for us. So the things that we're hoping to achieve. One thing is a wider geographic reach. So as I mentioned, a lot of the areas were cut off from communication. Even physical roads are still blocked to this day. So we're unable to reach a lot of the areas that we would like to reach because we know that they've been greatly affected. So we do plan, as these things become possible, to expand our reach and to expand our activities to the other areas. WASH programs. WASH stands for water, hygiene, sanitation. Again, this is key to so many well-being and health related issues. So right now we're distributing water, but we really want to go beyond that. We want to rehabilitate water infrastructure that we know was damaged. We want to treat water sources that we know people are using, because we realize we can't provide water to everyone. So if people are drinking from a source, at least we can treat that source and make sure that that community is drinking water that is at least better. And psychosocial support program, this is what is actually starting this week. We're focusing on children and women. Those are our vulnerable communities. And what we want to create is safe spaces for them to process trauma and to recover. We're just working on signing agreements with UNICEF right now on collaboration on the children's safe spaces. So this is something that's very much about to materialize on the ground, and there's a huge need, and it's often neglected from what we've seen. So we definitely want to fill that gap. And of course, the distributions will continue. As I said, the need is great. So as long as we can financially afford it, we do plan on continuing the distributions alongside these other activities. So here's just something to give you an idea. The local currency here is not doing well, which is not good for the country, but it is good in the sense that a dollar goes very far here. A $50 donation is what it costs us to operate our water truck for a whole day. We usually reach 400 families, sometimes even more. So $50 could operate that for one day, or three monthly food packages only cost $50 here. So just to give you an idea of how far the money can really go. And I can't stress it enough, the need is still huge. We've raised so far around $100,000. We've raised money from both the amazing coming together of the Ethiopian community in Israel, which is really what made all things I just presented possible, and also from donors abroad. But we really, really need more. The work is still huge. So this is our link. We have a JGive link for fundraising. If you just Google JGive Humanitarian Ethiopia, they'll also take you directly to that link. And we'd really appreciate that because, yeah, it's hard to keep up with all the need on the ground. So anything can be useful to us. Thank you. I think that's it for me. Ariel.
Yes, thank you very much, Liat, and I would like to thank all the speakers so far. In a minute, we are going to move to and open the floor for questions. I urge you and invite you to post your questions on the chat, and please try to refer your question to a specific speaker. Before starting, I would like to say a word about CID Israel. My name is Ariel Blumi. I'm the chairman of CID Israel. CID Israel is a coalition of 140 organizations, NGOs, GOs, private companies, all dedicated to increase Israel's involvement in international development and humanitarian aid. I want to let you know that we are joined also by some of the representatives and leaders of the 5 organizations that comprise this unique coalition. We have Tomer Malchi from CultivAid, Michal Brook from Nala, Yotam from IsraAID, Eliran from JDC, and of course, Shmuel from Beta Israel community. So feel free to post your questions on the chat. I can see that we already have 2 first questions, and maybe Liat, you can answer these questions. The first question is, are you helping all people or just Jews? And are you able to reach the northern side of Tigray?
Yeah, so we're helping everyone. We don't target a group as a specific group based on ethnicity or religion. So we are helping the general community, and it does happen that, you know, we have Jews in our beneficiaries, but we're not specifically targeting them. As far as the areas, so far we have been limited. We're working in the capital city, and in a few areas just in the very much in the vicinity of them. We're not able yet to access others, but we are definitely planning on doing needs assessments as the roads open up, and to find the hardest hit areas.
Thank you, Liat. And we have another question here from William. And maybe Michal from NALAC, you can answer this question. What is the global humanitarian response of UN, etc.? Multilaterals, I would say.
I would actually suggest that Liat answer it, because Liat sits on some of those global humanitarian groups on the ground in Addis Ababa, and therefore probably would be the best person to answer that, if that's okay.
Yeah, so as in most humanitarian crises, there's a structure of clusters by topics. So this is very much ongoing. There's logistics clusters, health, WASH, protection, which is the psychosocial part. So each topic has its own cluster with the NGOs that specialize on that, as well as the UN. And these clusters are taking place both at the federal level, so the government, the country, and at the regional level, so in Tigray region itself. So what we're doing is I'm participating in the federal level clusters, and our teams in Tigray are participating in the regional, and that's really the best way to coordinate, to avoid duplication, to know what other partners are doing, to know where the gaps are, and to know where the needs are, because the UN is a very useful source for that type of information. So there's definitely a big organization of this from the UN partners.
Thank you, Liat. And I have a question that I would like to ask Shmuel. Can you expand a little bit about the importance of the Tigray area for the Jewish Ethiopian community in Israel? I understand that 10% of the Jewish Ethiopian community in Israel are people that are descended from the Tigray region.
Thank you, Ariel. Yes, maybe as you know, about 10% of the Beta Israel in Israel were used to live in the Tigray region. I myself was born in a small Jewish village in the Tigray region, and we made Aliyah in the beginning of the 80s, all the Jewish of Tigray through Sudan. And so Tigray for us is, even we are today Israeli citizen, as Rabbi Sharon mentioned, is part of our identity, because we have a cultural connection. Our fathers and mothers still go to Tigray and visit the synagogues, the holy places. Our fathers and mothers, they stayed there, they born there. So for us, it's a live culture. So it's why it's very touch us, because if this culture is disappear, or we feel that part of us is disappear. So that's one level. The other point is still, as I mentioned, there are about 5,000 people, Jewish people, in the Tigray region, in some small villages. They are unfortunately still not recognized by the Israeli government, but they are eligible through the law of return I know myself some families that the parents are here in Israel and their children are in Tigray, or children who are here in Israel and serve in the army and their parents is in Tigray. The reason that they didn't make Aliyah, and this, as you know, it's not our issue through this coalition, just to make it clear, is because the government of Israel have a manhand list. So if you are not in that list, so nobody check your eligibility to make Aliyah. So no one from the Israeli government visit the Tigray region. So they were forgotten behind for many years. So today people, while they are in danger, they start to make and they bring their voices to the policy makers in the Israeli government. But still, they are in a big danger because most of them they are work as farmers, and their fields are destroyed, so they don't have basic things like food. So part of them trying to go to some towns like Aksum and Mekele for medicine, but they have no any basic things. So many calls we got here to Israel and say, please save us. So through our activity of the coalition, our business is not Aliyah, but we want to help them as a humanitarian aspect. But because they live in the far villages, we have no access to their villages. So we hope that sometime it will open and we can get to those villages also. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shmuel. And I think the next question goes back to you, Liat. You mentioned before that there is a very little presence of international NGOs on the ground. And the question is whether this is a matter of lack of communication, awareness, or whatever. Maybe you can just expand on this a little bit.
Yeah, so maybe I'll clarify. This was the situation at the beginning of the crisis. So November and early December. Right now, there's a big presence on the ground. The biggest obstacles were that the roads were blocked and the aviation was stopped. So physically, it was hard to reach the area. So that's the reason. But right now, there's a full capacity right now on the ground. However, there seems to be some advantage to organizations that were there early on. They've already won the faith of the people there, whereas people coming in later on are more looked at as what took you so long in a sense. But right now there is full full UN presence and NGO presence there.
Thank you, Liat. And I can't stress enough the importance and the uniqueness of this coalition, comprised of 5 wonderful organizations: NALA, IsraAID, CultivAid, JDC, and Beta Israel community. I think that we haven't seen for a long time such a good cooperation between Israeli NGOs and the uniqueness of working together with Jewish Ethiopian community here in Israel. I would like to ask a very simple question, and feel free to answer. I don't know, Yotam, Tomer, Michal. How can we help? What can we do?
Maybe I can take it if no one else wants.
Please, Michal. Yeah. Ladies.
So I think there are a few ways that that you can help with. We know, first of all, that as a community, our ability to create new ideas, link to new potential links. Even you, Ariel, you've linked us lately to some of your Red Cross connections and so on. Those are very, very helpful in making sure that we are able to really work in an effective manner. The other thing is, of course, we can do as much as our resources allow. Yael shared our JGIV link. Yael, if you can share it again, that would be wonderful. We're looking for donations, for raising more funds. These are some of the main things that we could think of. But so again, links, ideas, funds, all of these would be extremely helpful right now for us to be able to really multiply the impact and get and do more than what we're doing right now. I don't know if anyone
Thank you,
else.
Michal.
Yeah.
And indeed, the work of this coalition is made possible only by the support of many individuals and some foundations. And we have the link on the chat if you would like to join me in supporting this unique effort. Tomer, would you like to take it from here and tell us a little bit about the work of CultivAid?
I'll start off with just adding on to what Michal said, that I think raising awareness is critical here. So I think people should really understand, and whoever really cares about this should understand how can they raise awareness in their own communities, whether it's easily through posting on Facebook, different articles that explain what's going on, or even organizing their own fundraising efforts. I think that it needs to be understood that Tigray is I've been working in Tigray for about 8 years. I think it's a very proud, people are very proud in Tigray, and people want to work, people want to get back to work. You're talking about an area that is about 70% farmers, and they know how to grow very well. I think due to the devastation, there's an incredible need for funding to get people to stand back on their feet. People don't want to be getting handouts. They want to stand strong. So I think raising funding is really critical to make sure that people can get the seeds they need, have the water they need, have the food to eat in order to regenerate the economy and get to where they were a few months ago. So anyone here who really feels moved by everything that was very, very important in this webinar to help us raise funding so we can do this work. I'll just add that CultivAid has local staff on the ground. We have local agronomists who have been trained, and we're able to do a lot of agricultural work, taking Israeli knowledge and really putting it into effect immediately. And I think this collaboration of these organizations is like Ariel said, very unique. And with the right type of support, we can do incredible things. So whoever's out there and can really help, we're looking to you.
So Tomer, I will just, if you can stay with us for the next question that came in about vegetables, growing vegetables in this area.
So we have, in general, in addition to what Liat said, our team has been going to the cluster meetings of the UN on the agriculture side, and the need for agriculture inputs is incredible. There's nothing coming in, so there's not a lot of seeds currently in Tigray. There's a lack of fertilizers. There's a lack of general agricultural inputs. But we have the infrastructure that we can actually establish. We have seeding nurseries and are able to provide seedings, you can imagine, on trays at your local nurseries. And we're looking to support specific sites in Tigray that we're actually already doing in some areas in Raya, in southern Tigray. So that is happening, and it needs to happen more. As soon as things open up, we can scale that up a little more, ways to actually work together on this.
Yeah, thank you, Tomer. And I think that we are joined by our friends from IsraAID here. So my question, if Naama or Yotam can answer, is about Sudan. We know that many of the refugees cross the border to Sudan, and just recently Israel signed an agreement, some kind of peace agreement with Sudan. So do you think there is an opportunity also to help refugees on the other side of the border in Sudan?
Thank you, Ariel. I'll take it. With Sudan, the situation is very concerning because we know that over 50,000 refugees are now in camps in Sudan. And due to the recent kind of development in the diplomatic relation with Sudan, we believe there may be an opportunity in the future to assist them. Unfortunately, the situation, both the diplomatic situation and the security and safety situation in Sudan is not yet an option for us as the coalition to operate there. But this is definitely an opportunity for the future. And we're looking very carefully, and we're in touch with government officials, both in Sudan and Israel, to see if and how we can operate there.
Thank you very much, Yotam. Liat, if you can see the next question regarding northern Tigray again. I think there is a bit of a confusion whether it's possible or not possible to work in northern Tigray.
Maybe they're confused. So Tigray is in the north of Ethiopia. Maybe that's the source of the confusion. Tigray is the most northern region of the country. So there is definitely access to there. I thought that within the region, the northern part is a bit harder to get to. It doesn't mean that people are not there, but maybe that's the, Tomer, CultivAid and Nala are both based, both have staff based in Tigray region. And the access is kind of, I've seen a lot of questions about access. It's unstable. It could be open one day. Some areas are totally inaccessible, but even areas that are may be open today, and next week there might be roadblocks and there would be challenges. So it's kind of it's typical of this type of situation where things are, things are a bit unpredictable. So I don't know exactly if the reference is to northern in the region in Tigray, but there is access to some of the region, and yeah, I hope that answers.
Yeah, I think it was about the northern part of Tigray, and maybe Shmuel, you can elaborate a little bit about this.
Yes, I can add that we as a coalition, we start at the capital city of the Tigray region in Mekelle, because we didn't have access to other parts of the region. Today we start to reach to another two small cities, Adwa and Wukro, but still, as Liat mentioned, according to the Red Cross, about 80% of the region is still is not have no access. So it's very difficult to help people outside the big cities like Mekelle. And if I can, Ariel, I want to add one point. Is possible?
Yes, of course. And Shmuel, maybe I'll just add another question that just came in. What is the situation now in terms of fighting? Is it continuing? Any progress in ending it?
Yeah, it's I would say a sensitive question because according to the Ethiopian government, they said there is no, the operation is over. But according to the international humanitarian agencies, we know that fighting is still ongoing in the ground. So that's maybe one of the reasons why the access is not open to most of the region. But as I said, it's a little bit a political aspect. I will leave it aside. The point I want to add is maybe one point about the coalition. It's important for me to emphasize that among the my friends, the Ethiopian Israeli activities, we work together, the Marinya speaking and Tigrinya speaking together. Because there's no, because the humanitarian aid or crisis is in Tigray, this issue is not only for the Tigrinya speaking in Israel. We here as the Ethiopian community, we work together. Most of, I would say, even of the activities is Amharic speaking, like some of the names maybe you know, Rachamim Elazar, Sega Melaku, and Avi Yalo. So for me, it is a symbol for the unity of the community here, and I would say for the strength of the community to work together and to try to help the civilian in Ethiopia. The other point of the coalition is, and it's a good opportunity to say thank you to our partners, is not obvious that four partners work together. Really, you know, the business of of working in the organization. Every organization have its ego, and here we didn't fight any ego. When we call the organization, we didn't knew them before. It's just right now because of this crisis, and they were very openly, very friendly, and they were to work together. And it's something that very good aspect and strength of Israeli would say value, and also to work together with us as activities. It's not something regular. So really thank you for you, because I have no enough opportunity to tell you thank you.
Thank you very much, Shmuel, and thank you for all the members of this coalition for your wonderful work. Before handing over back to Diana, just let me say that over the years, many of the Jewish communities around the world supported the Ethiopian Jewish community when it moved to Israel. And I think the fact that now Shmuel and Sega and many others in the Beta Israel community are able to give help to Tigray region, to the humanitarian crisis in Ethiopia, I think it's a sign of success, despite all the difficulties that we all aware of in Israel. And I think this is very, very moving. And I think that we all have the moral imperative to support this effort and support the coalition. So thank you very much for your wonderful work, and back to you, Diana.
Thank you. I'll just take this opportunity to thank Ariel Delumi for masterfully facilitating the conversation, Shmuel Yilma, Rabbi Sharon Shalom, and Liat Renner for presenting. We will be sending around a recording to all those who participated and registered, as well as links to the donation information and links to all of the coalition partners. So please keep your eyes open. And with regards to the question that Ariel posed earlier of what can you do? So in addition to obviously supporting the work of the coalition, I would just add, if you could take it upon yourself to share some of the content of this webinar with at least one more person, so that you can spread the word about both the crisis on the ground, but also the very inspiring collaboration of individuals and organizations that are coming together to rally for support. So once again, thank you. Please keep your eyes peeled for an email with a recording and all of the links.